Hi.
Hey there.
Hi.
Much, much love. Great to see you.
Blessings. Really good to meet you. Wow, such an unconventional way for a first meeting.
Yeah, you said you've done this before, right?
I think like 2 minutes. Not even 2 minutes. I was in the community in Costa Rica and then I said, what if we do a live right now? Just a, Instagram live. And then I started the live and then all the women were like, no, 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 no.
Why were they like this?
Because they were not prepared. So, yeah,
Okay, okay. Well, you seem ready. I mean, you seem like, you stay ready. You don't have to get ready, you know?
exactly. Yeah, 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 definitely. I'm not ready. I'm just present. I'm not ready. I'm just present.
Beautiful. Well, your presence is appreciated, and thank you for making the time, and creating the time. And what do your friends call you?
Andra, just
Andra, Andra,
so far, yeah, Andra.
Andra. And it's just
Yes.
Andra, it's not short for anything?
No, no, no. It's just this.
Andra.
It means
What is? Mhm.
it means it's actually it has a meaning in one of the languages here in Europe, in Albanian. It means the dream that soldiers have, or the soldiers had, to come back home. You know, the soldiers, when they were in the war,
Mhm.
they were having a dream to come back home to their families. And so this is the word for that dream. So when I found that out, I'm like, okay, I like that.
Wow, wow.
Yes.
Andra, the dream for soldiers to come back home to their families.
Yes.
Wow, that is beautiful. That's very unique.
Yeah, I think it's pretty profound. I'm not sure that I was given the name because of that, but I'm definitely very happy to carry it.
Wow. So you're ushering people back home. You're bringing people back home.
Exactly, helping them remember what home is.
Wow. Walking us back home. I love that. It sounds like it's so on purpose, and you've been being in service for quite a while. What would you say, about your journey? And you said your name, it's Albanian?
No, it's just in Albanian, that's a translation because they
Okay.
also have it there. But my name is actually Romanian because I'm from Romania originally.
Okay, okay. And Andra, are you familiar with Christiana Eltrayan?
No?
Okay, interesting. I was just wondering because she's the only one that I know in Romania, and she's doing a lot of different things over there. But it's interesting in different circles, in different healing circles, where people are, really exploring different modalities. They're changing their mentality and transforming and reshaping their reality. You've been on this journey for quite some time. How long would you say would you say you've been on this particular journey?
On this particular journey,
Yeah, yeah.
I think I've been on this journey since I started, since I came here in this incarnation. But definitely being more mindful about it or being more conscious, I would say in the last maybe 6 years since I started my yoga teacher training.
Okay.
So that kind of opened me up to another world and gradually expanded my awareness. And I'm like, okay, there is another thing out there, that I didn't consider. Let's tap into that. And gradually it came to my spiritual awakening, and
hmm
then yeah, long
hmm
story.
And some people, when they describe a spiritual awakening, they might come to it from a sense of inspiration. Other people might come to it out of desperation, that
Mm,
something had to happen. What do you feel like was your awakening?
mm. I love what you mentioned with, inspiration coming from desperation. I feel that. Well, for me, it was a lot of different things coming together, like a lot of pain, probably also, the collective that we were feeling, this shadow with Corona and so on in 2020, and a lot of personal things were happening. So it kind of led to something like a spontaneous awakening, I would say. So it's not like this gradual, people usually have this gradual awakening. And then they say, yeah, when I started awakening, then things started to happen and I became more aware. However, for me, it went from 1 minute to the next, you know. It was like I went to this retreat and like I put some intentions, we did some practices, nothing very fancy. I mean, it's just like meditation, yoga, blah, blah. And then at the end of the retreat, like I started to see synchronicities, I started to have some conversations, and then all of a sudden, bam, it's like I opened my eyes and I was in a different reality and I could feel things and kind of get this knowing that everything is true and universe is leading us. And yeah, it was quite difficult to integrate it, of course, afterwards, but
Right,
yeah.
right. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing how that happened and how that, really opened you up to a whole new world. Like I'm getting Disney vibes. I remember seeing Aladdin, back in like a whole new world, right? Like he took Jasmine on the magic carpet and he was showing her a whole new world. But Andra, when you say that it was very challenging for you to integrate certain things, what do you feel was the most challenging to find that form of integration?
Well, I believe that going through such a reset, like completely going to another world or starting to have another world view from one day to the next, has to come with a lot of depth in terms of, relationships or connections that you had, the jobs, old ways of doing and thinking about things that, wouldn't serve you anymore, like on this new path. And so the only thing that I could do, because I wanted to just, suck everything in, like all the information, all the wisdom, it's like, oh my God, I want to know now, everything about spirituality. For me, it was most important to just go and ground and sit by a tree and just ask a tree, like for protection, for grounding, for really guiding me through this period. Because I will start to get flashes, of like heat flashes or like visions or stuff. Like I wouldn't even like be able to contain it in my physical body, and everyone around me like was, what is actually happening? So it's very difficult to explain it to someone.
Right,
Um,
right,
yeah.
right. Because I'm imagining like like a snake, shedding its skin, shedding the things, shedding the layers that no longer serve it or no longer
Yeah.
need to remain, and just kind of slithering out and going on its way, almost like a rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
like you were
Mm-hmm.
born. So when you say that, there was also a death, what was the part of Andra that died?
Mm-hmm. I think it was the part of me that was not necessarily believing, not trusting, the process, not trusting the universe, and not having courage to take the leap of faith.
Mm,
So that's definitely something that died, thankfully, because I'm right here like every day feeling this magic of like, after taking the leap, being like, why haven't I done it sooner? Of course, like I still have a lot to go, but I think that was something that died because I was reading like all the books, like the I was really interested in consciousness and energy work, and I was doing yoga, I was practicing yoga, but I didn't really like fully believe in it. I didn't really like fully feel it or embody it. And so in that moment, it was more like, no, you have to believe it. Like, this is the truth. You see it now, and there is no going back. So afterwards, it was like, okay, buy a one-way ticket to Mexico, and then let's see what happens afterwards.
wow. Wow. You're giving me goosebumps. You're giving me goosebumps right now because, it is like that, isn't it? It's like you take the leap and then the net will appear, you
Hmm.
know, but the
Yeah.
net really doesn't appear until you take that leap,
Yeah.
you
We think it's different. We think it's the other way
Right.
around. It's like, no, no, I will take the leap if I have a net, if I have enough money, if I have a job that is waiting for me, something. But it doesn't work that way in this reality. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. So you were able to take the leap of faith before you saw any signs of security, before you had any semblance of reassurance, you took that leap.
Yeah, yeah, I did. And it was quite difficult, and I'm sure that it will be quite challenging for a few people, you know, also in the future. But I'm very happy to guide them on this process, especially when they're awakening like spontaneously like that, you know, not knowing, oh my God, what is reality? What is like, am I in a psychosis or not? Hopefully I can be there, you know, to hold space and to reassure people that, you know, they're not going crazy.
Yeah.
They're just awakening to a greater reality. And as you mentioned, like, you know, taking that leap and not knowing, like, okay, I've been in a relationship for 9 years, you know, that was my security. I had a good job. That was my security. Good family, everything, you know. I lived in a very beautiful place in Vienna, in Austria. So to let everything, you know, the relationship, the parents, everything, and just buy a one-way ticket to Mexico, for me, it was like, it wasn't hard because I knew that I had to do it.
Mm.
You know, like it's harder to not do it when you get to that stage, to not take the leap.
Okay. So there was no other option.
Yeah, there was no other option. Like, because, for example, when I was going to the same job back then, I started to get physical symptoms, you know, like when I was getting emails or when I was working in marketing and in growth hacking. And I would get emails and I would start to get dizzy, you know, or, you know, needing to drop or whatever. So then, you know, my body was telling me like, Andra, you need to go. Like, please just, you know, follow that intuition, just go. And I was like, okay, I know, but I can't go from one day to the next. Just give me like 2 weeks. Just play along nicely for 2 weeks, and then we're out of here.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So what were you asking to play along? Like, was that the universe or was that what was that?
I think it was my
Your
soul, because my soul
soul.
was,
Okay.
yeah, my soul was like crumbling inside, you know, like kind of telling me like we can't do this anymore. Like, please, like don't give me, you know, the same job or the same relationship, like nothing. And I would start to get, as I mentioned, like not on the emotional or mental level, but on a physical level, you know, like whenever I would try to go into things that wouldn't align anymore with what I needed to do. And so yeah, I was just saying like, please play along because I'm gonna be good to you. You know, it's just that I need to close it down here. I need to finish my businesses here.
Wow. So the physical and the soul. So you were receiving signals from not only a cellular level, but a cellular level, you know?
Yeah, if that's a word,
Um,
definitely.
we'll make it a word. We'll make it
Yeah,
a word.
sure. Why not?
A cellular
Solar.
level and a cellular level on both sides of the spectrum. You know, on
Mm-hmm.
both sides of the fence, you were being pushed and pulled and prodded, and really, you listen. You listen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that for some people, maybe that voice or their intuition, because I love how you said in one of your posts that you were proud of your intuition, that you were proud of your own courage. And it's
Mm.
interesting because I feel like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that we all have kind of these senses within us, but maybe for some people it's like a whisper, where with other people it's a little bit louder. What would you say when it comes to that?
I fully believe that for most of the people, it's hard to trust or to listen to their intuition. And I think you have the same kind of feeling, right? Like it's just seeing around you, like all the people telling you, oh my God, you know, this is happening to me, or I feel these feelings, or I sense these things in my body, but you know, like I'm gonna ignore it because I need to show up for whatever. And then I'm like, but no, like it's your soul trying to speak to you. And I've been like leading people and holding space for people who went through really major transformations and shifts and having traumas. And it was pretty wild to see them not listening at all to their intuition. And then at the end being like, okay, now, you know, my body's telling me something, my soul wants to speak to me through my body, then what is it? You know, just sitting maybe like 10 minutes in meditation and asking,
Mhm.
like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, not bypassing anymore, not gaslighting anymore, because we've done so much gaslighting, right? So it's just, yeah, let's
Yeah.
be done with that.
For sure, for sure. You know, let's leave that, you know, leave that where it needs to be. Because when it comes to meditation, having that be a foundation and even having meditation be a form of medication for you, would you say that meditation today is like a non-negotiable? Is that one of your rituals?
Mm. I've been there. Now I'm not anymore,
Oh,
actually. I've had so many different tools in my awakening journey, as I would say, from yoga to meditation to breath work to whatever else. I think for me right now, what is really, really important for me personally is to have ceremony, like
mm,
to have to connect to the elements, like as much as possible. So to go in nature, to talk to Mother Earth, to give gratitude for the blessings that I have, to really like connect to the spirit because I feel that I have so much in my life. I have so many blessings. I have so much to give, so much abundance. And right now it has come to a point where it's mostly about gratitude,
mm.
it's mostly about giving thanks, like show me how I can give back, to other people, to humanity, to my parents and so on.
Yes, yes, beautifully said, beautifully put. Andra, when you speak, one of the things that I love about your conscious language, because you specifically use words in it, and it seems very effortless. It seems like they just roll off of your tongue. You speak affirmations, you know?
Mm,
You're like, I'm
hmm
so blessed, I'm so lucky, I'm so honored, I'm so blessed, I'm so, you're saying these things, so easily. And
mm,
like I have this abundance, I have all of this, I'm just so grateful. And these are certain things that some people, they have to consciously like go through an effort to write these things down or to speak these things aloud or to listen to these things to program their mind, that it takes a lot of time to get to where it seems like you already are, you know?
mm. Nice. Thank you for the witnessing. I wasn't conscious, of course, that I was doing that or that it's something special. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's also something that definitely changed in the last Vipassana. Um, because since the last Vipassana, I think it was in October. So that's my medicine, Vipassana and silence. So since the last time, I know it sounds really weird, but I've gone through at least 6, 7 months of no thoughts. So I don't have thoughts. And I don't have involuntary thoughts, which
Mm,
is really weird to say. And I was like almost like afraid to share it with anyone. For example, in the community in Costa Rica, the community that I've built, because I'm gonna be judged. I'm gonna be like, she's arrogant. She's like this. She's like, I don't know what I was, like afraid of. But also I was afraid of maybe I'm brain dead, because I feel that I'm just channeling.
mm.
I literally like whatever I'm saying, I don't, or whatever I'm doing, I'm not thinking about things, I'm just like saying or doing in the moment. And so there were a few times where I'm like, my brain, like, what is this, So this happened since the last Vipassana. It's been such a I don't know, such a blessing because I used to be anxious and I used to have a lot of thoughts, So yeah, it's amazing.
Okay. And you've done Vipassana like 3 times, right?
Yes, 3 times. I started in April last year.
Okay. And that's pretty extensive. I've only done it once and I know the process of like, 10 days sitting for like 10 hours a day. So if you're, all of that meditation and all the sensations and even the inner conversation for 6 and 7 months to have no thoughts, no thought,
Hmm
how did you feel in that thoughtless state?
It's beautiful. It's really like, I'm just like so grateful every day. I still don't have them. I mean, I had them a bit when I came back because I was 3 months there. So coming back was a little bit of like adjusting and oh my God, worries and fears and doubts and how do I deal with all of this, right? But afterwards, like they just went away again. And I think it's a state that we want to reach, right? Like we're all trying to get here where we're just like acting out of this intuition and this desire because we're also in the Solkin in the Galactic Man calendar. We're in the week of the serpent, and the serpent just moves based on instinct and acts based on instinct. And so, when you don't have thoughts and you don't like, for example, judge, like I don't judge. I used to judge a lot. I to be the queen of judging, right? Judging myself, judging other people, like what they did and so on. And this was like 2 years ago or 1 year ago. And realizing that with no thoughts, you also don't have judgments. And so you can also not pick on judgments from other people. Like you don't think like, what if the other person judges me? So when I was in the community and I was thinking, well, if I share that I don't have thoughts, maybe they will judge me. I caught myself thinking that, and I'm like, that's a thought, it's good. So this is what vipassana does. It's just like catching, every single emotion, thought, whatever. So you're just being super like vigilant and mindful of everything that is happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, you're like the thought police. I got you.
I see you.
I got you.
What are you thinking of?
Wow, wow. So, that sounds so liberating. That sounds so liberating to just hear that form of freedom, to be free of judgment, to be free of thoughts, to be free of even the perception on yourself, looking on yourself, deprecating on yourself, or having those thoughts towards yourself. It's just very interesting to think about, because when you talk about the worries, the stress, the anxiety that many people go through on the daily. I recall seeing a post that you put up on your story, Andra, and it said something like, I think there was like a psychotherapist or somebody sitting in a chair, a counselor sitting across from someone else, and they were asking them, so where's all this anxiety coming from? What's going on with all this anxiety, right? And you could see out the window, the world was in flames, and planes were going down, and all this stuff was going out the window, and the person sitting in the chair was like, wondering where all this anxiety. So for you, in the past, like maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, where do you feel like all that anxiety was, before it went away?
First of all, thank you for checking my stories and my posts. I think like 2 years ago, my anxieties were very much about just worries, worries about my financial future, worries about what people would think of me. So, like being in this people pleasing. Am I speaking my truth? Do I need to do more to speak my truth? Am I living my purpose? Am I not living my purpose? There were so many things to just worry about instead of just trusting the process. And I think the anxieties would come up when, like usually anxiety comes up when you're not aligned, like when you're not aligned with your soul plan and what your soul should do in this lifetime. Then it's like when worries start to be like, okay, so let's worry about the finances, let's worry about the relationship, let's worry about whatever else. And so for me, I was definitely not at all aligned in the job, in the relationship. Like I wasn't where I was supposed to be, and that's where it came from.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty. Just thank you for your transparency and your vulnerability when you speak on these things, because I know that other people can relate. And when you talk about alignment, being aligned or misaligned, finding that kind of form of connection and seeing that outer reflection, what does it feel like for Andra to be in alignment? How would you define that in your life?
Well, I think it's just about the feelings of joy, because like when you are joyful and when you're excited about a project that you're doing, about your life, about where you are, who you're with, whatever, and when you're following that joy, the universe doesn't, it doesn't really care what you do. It doesn't really care like how a project will turn out to be or how many people it will serve. It just is just, about you following that joy. Because if you do follow that joy, you follow your curiosity, you follow your hobbies, whatever makes you alive, whatever makes you happy and joyful, and it means that you are in alignment with your soul. Because whatever feels good, that's also true. And I try to follow that. And of course, when you are in your joy, you have much more open heart. Like your heart is much more open, more expanded, your third eye as well. So then messages and insights and downloads can come in being like, okay, this is what you need to do. So it's much easier to follow the breadcrumbs or the you know, stepping stones to be like, okay, I need to do this for the retreat. I need to do this for the community. Like it just happens like this. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to, you know, for example, right now, I'm not so much like asking for guidance or asking for insights because they come to me, you know, because I'm so open. I'm so like, you know, whatever comes. And I feel that I'm also quite good with following synchronicity, because synchronicity is just, you know, those stepping stones for, is this, you know, so I can follow that, navigate through it.
Beautiful. Beautiful breakdown. Thank you for that breakdown, because it's like you said, you know, following the breadcrumbs of your bliss. You,
Mm.
it's like your bliss is leaving you breadcrumbs. Follow the love. You know, where is it coming? You know, where is your highest joy, your highest bliss, your highest love, and following that and trusting that. You know, so the more trust,
Trusting again.
yeah, it seems like that trusting, it plays a big key role. It
Yeah,
seems like that. Yeah.
I think so too. Because I started to write a book right now with some people, and I realized that whatever I write comes down to trust, you know,
Mm.
and really that's the basis, that's the cornerstone of what I'm trying to express is please trust trust me, trust yourself, and also trust the process, you know, trust the joy, because it will lead you exactly where you're supposed to be.
Mm.
But if you go into your mind, which is, you know, constantly like, but what if, you know, but maybe I could have done it better. Maybe I could have been more efficient. Maybe if I would have gone that path, it would have, you know. So it's just like, it's so tiring. Like you cannot really receive if you're in that state.
Okay. Okay. So would you say that it's the mind, or that expectation, or that is that the block that we put on that vibration, or even expanding our own imagination?
Yes, I think the mind can turn against us when it comes to really following our intuition, and also, like as you mentioned, like opening up to the highest dream, which is really imagining, you know, imagining all the possibilities that are out there, because it's infinite, it's like limitless, you know. And so by you opening up and realizing that, oh my God, I can create everything that I want, I can be everything that I want, um, it has to come from a space of no mind. So that's why I think a lot of people meditate, and that's why meditation is becoming much more important in today's times. Is just because like you drop more into your heart, and the heart is just about trusting. Yeah.
Yeah. I love these higher centers that you're talking about, you know, coming into the heart chakra, even the third eye, you know, expanding that. Because when you say that no mind seems to be a key, it's almost like no mind is a key that's able to open the lock. You know, it's open
Yeah.
the door with the no mind.
Yeah.
Because to someone else, you know, someone might think, oh my gosh, like, okay, I can do everything. I can be anything. I can do anything. You know, that might be overwhelming
I
to
know.
someone else, but
I know it
it
can
doesn't seem
be.
that way for you.
No, it doesn't. And I remember having a conversation with my vipassana teacher, because the kind of vipassana that I did is a little bit different from the usual vipassana, like 10 days. So I did 14 days. I did
Woo!
14 days. I did 14 days of silence, and it's the technique is a little bit different. So it's not just sitting, it's also walking meditation. And because it's much more intense, so you go through different levels of consciousness, you have to talk half an hour a day with a teacher. So a teacher that is actually there in person with you to guide you to the next level. So he can determine, okay, where you're at and if you're ready for the next step. And so I was, because he's my friend and he's coming to the retreat, he's also like hosting in September, like the first 10 days of will be Vipassana. And so I was talking to him, and such a humble and beautiful and wise person. It's incredible. And he said that reality is like this glass, and he's just like going around, you know, on the rim, and he can always see what's beyond it, you know, like this limitlessness, the multidimensionality. Like he can see that, right? But he chooses to stay inside. He chooses to stay in this reality, even though you can see. Um, And for me, it's a little bit different. For me, like I can see, you know, I can see the multidimensionality and I can see different realities, but I'm not choosing to stay inside it. I'm choosing to also like just play around and just, you know, trust that I'm not gonna go into like psychosis or be crazy. Like I had these thoughts, you know, like maybe 1.5 years ago, but right now I'm just like, I feel so sovereign and I feel so protected and guided that nothing really can happen to me that is not karma. And I have to live my karma. So
That is amazing. That is amazing. Just the fortitude, the strength to be able to hold your reality, to be able to trust that your reality will be stable, you know, in the stabilization, having that realization and the revelation that it will be okay, you know?
it will be okay.
Yeah, that all is well, you know? And
Even if your reality goes, you know, like it kind of dissolutes for a moment,
mhm.
and you're a little bit like confused and lost, like, oh my God, what is this? Like I was there, you know, I'm losing my mind, like this is psychosis. But then when once you reach a state where you have no mind, because it always comes down to that, right? Like if you have no mind and the mind doesn't interfere because it's just an illusion, it's just a story of like, oh my God, I'm losing it. Right? What are you losing? You're just losing an ego. Like the soul cannot be lost.
Uh,
So then once you are in it, once you are in it, it's just pure bliss. You know, you can just see everything that is happening. It's just, it can be a storm, it can be like different, you know, realities, but you're just like there. You're sovereign.
right, right. That sounds so that sounds almost psychedelic,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It's psychedelic, but like also in psychedelics, like you can just go in and out. It's just like
Wow. Because, you know, I'm sure with psychedelics as well, you know, I see the parallels because there's a lot of times where, you know, we might be reality transferring. We're worried about the cost, but you said the soul cannot be lost,
mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly.
So there's
Yeah.
no need to worry about the cost when the soul cannot be lost. You're still the boss.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I love this. And if it, you know, if Vipassana was a video game, Andra, it sounds like you did the hardest difficulty mode. You know, you were the
Mm,
hardest difficulty. I didn't even hear about 14 days. So in silence, not just sitting, but you were walking and you were consulting with your guide that was there.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really wanted to do that because for three times, like three times in a row, because I knew that once like I've awakened, I need to reset, like I need to like clear out everything, like all the fucking junk that is in my system, you
Mm.
know, in my
Literally?
mental, emotional. Well, probably literally as well, but in my body, emotions, mind, and spirit, I had to just let go of all the triggers, of all the, you know, to really see the truth about my ego. And there was so much fear happening. Like I remember in the first Vipassana, there was so much fear. I wanted to quit, like after I think like 7 days or something. Um, and then I decided, you know, talking to the teacher, I was like, I'm not gonna do it. Like this is my karma. Like I need to deal with this. You need to deal with me. And he was like, whoa, okay, you're ready. You know, like you're strong. You're ready. And it really felt like taking a shot, like for me at least, taking a shot of psychedelics every single day. Like it was so intense. And this Vipassana is intense, but that's why, you know, for the retreat, like making sure that, you know, people don't really go to those lengths, but it's going to be a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations. You know, I just want to say, you know, congratulations for going there and really, really going all the way and just embracing that process. Like you said, trusting that process. Because, you know, during my Vipassana, even though it was only 10 days, you know, we were
Hmm.
just on for 10 hours a day for 10 days. There were people that got up, you know, maybe on the fourth day and the fifth day, and they couldn't continue. You know, they couldn't just,
Mm-hmm.
it was too much. It was too demanding. And it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of mental fortitude because it's almost like, you know, you're almost going through a form of surgery, you know,
Hmm.
like psychic surgery. You're on an operating table and it's you and you If you get up in the middle of the surgery, you might have like open wounds, open cavities, open things in your body. You're not healed, you know? It's
Yeah.
not. So if you get up in the middle of the process, it's like it's not done. You're still kind of, you know, open wounds. You're bleeding from there. So congratulations to you for just completing the whole thing and just saying, you know what? No, this is necessary. I got to do this for me, you know?
Thank you. Yeah. I feel that.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Something you said that I love about you, you talked about synchronicities. And
Mm.
I love that you see beauty everywhere that you look. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Hmm.
So whenever you're in nature, I see that you take these pictures of nature. You have this reverence for nature, be it a mushroom or a tree, or, you know, you have like these fairy beings that are like around you, you know, and you see synchronicities. Have you always saw synchronicities like that?
Mm. Actually, no. Like I started seeing synchronicities maybe with the day of the awakening.
Okay, so 6 years
So
ago.
the day of the awakening was 2.5 years ago. So I started with my yoga journey, yeah, 6 years ago. But at the retreat, like so many synchronicities happened that my mind couldn't really understand it. You know, it was like, you know, like how like a robot, you know, it's like, oh my God, what is happening? You know, error. Like it just doesn't add up. It just, you know. And I think so many of that happened. Like the universe was giving me so many signs in a very short amount of time in order for me to awaken and to be like, Pam, okay, I trust
Mm.
now. This is a synchronicity, it's not a coincidence, and all this, the things, you know?
Okay. So when it comes to some of those synchronicities that you see and that you trust, you know, when they do come around, I saw one of them was your spirit animals. So
Mm.
there was a wise old owl that you saw, or
Hmm.
something. There was an owl that you said that you felt like was guiding you or was with you, you know. And so when it came to finding the spirit animal of the owl, like how did that come about?
Mm. Well, that's just one because I do have many more, and I see a lot of synchronicity in numbers, but also in people that come into my life, like for example you. Um, but the owl, like it's very funny because the owl, like there's a very big picture of the owl when I'm sitting down in my coffee shop. Like I always used to go to the same coffee shop and I sit down and there's this picture of the owl and I haven't been noticing it. Like it's just there, right? And all of a sudden I see it because this is what's happening, you know, with mindfulness and so on. Like you see things, and then it was just there. And I remember like just seeing it in different places in where I used to like either work or where I used to be. And then in one of the shamanic drumming, it came up as a guide telling me like, you know, your eyes are open, like that channel is open. You can trust the unknown. You can trust the path that is leading you into, you know, whether it's darkness, whether it's shadows, it doesn't really matter because your eyes are open right now, you know. So
Yeah.
I think every single animal and every single synchronicity is just like giving you some wisdom.
Wow. Wow. Your eyes are open, you
Yeah.
know. You can see clearly now. You know, the rain is on. It's like have you ever heard Andra have you ever heard of the wise old owl?
No.
Okay. Okay. Oh, so real brief. It's brief. So
Yeah.
there's a saying that a wise old owl sat in an oak,
Hmm.
and the more she saw, the less she spoke. And the less she spoke, the more she heard. Why can't we be like that wise old bird?
Nice. Yeah. It's a beautiful poem.
And it reminded me of that because, you know, there's so many things from nature that we can take so many lessons, you know, so many learnings and so many discernings that we can receive just
Mm.
by looking at a tree or even looking at the leaves, you
Yeah.
know, or even seeing the birds and the bees, right? You know, there's just so much that can put the mind at ease. And as well, what about the dragonfly? Where does the dragonfly come in significance into your life?
Thank you for sharing that poem. I will definitely look it up afterwards. Um, the dragonfly, it's also something that I have here on my hand, on my arm. Um, it came at my like one day or one evening before the awakening, because I was just writing something on the laptop before we went to the retreat, and it came and sat on my hand, and it was just like facing me, and it sat there for a while. And back then, I didn't believe in any of those things, right? But I was like, that's nice. And then it flew off like after a minute. And I thought this must be quite significant, right? Even if you're not spiritual, like I've heard about, like animals being spirit guides and stuff like that. So I started Googling it more like in a whatever joke. And it's spiritual transformation, right? So I was like, well, let's see about that. So then the retreat happened. And when the retreat ended, we did a circle, like an ending circle, and everybody had to say a word. And I said, spiritual transformation. And then the dragonfly came in front of me, and then it flew away. And since then, I feel that everywhere I'm going, they are there and they are guiding me. Like I remember being in Mexico after a peyote ceremony. I was still like quite, like high and stuff. And we had to check out. We didn't have a hotel. I was still in it, like because I took double dose. I was still like, fully in the trip. And I had to be productive. I had to check out. I had to like search for a hotel. And we were in the middle of Mexico, and in the middle of nowhere. And I said, stay here. I was with my partner. Stay here. I'm gonna go and find a hotel. And I went, and I was thinking, I'm tripping in the middle of Mexico, alone, a woman. And then I go it was on the street, and then I take a right turn, and I was going towards a hill, but it was like mountains. And then I just go, and I see the dragonfly. It was in front of me, and it takes a right turn. So I take the right turn after the dragonfly. And it takes a left turn, and I take a left turn because I'm like, I must be following the dragonfly, right? And then ultimately it gets me into like a dead end. So there was no, like, the woods were starting basically. And I look to the left, and it goes to the left inside, like it was a very big gate. And I was like, okay, I think I need to go in. So I go in, and I think 5 dogs come barking. And usually I'm very afraid of dogs, but back then I was like, nah, it's fine, like they came barking. I was like, I'm dehydrated, I'm tired, I'm high, like I just need to find accommodation. So I just go, and in the middle of this property, there is a pond with dragonflies. Like there were like 20 dragonflies. And I think the dragonfly was just going there. And like a woman came, and she said, in Spanish, she was like, can I help you? And I said, yes, do you have an accommodation for tonight? And she was like, yeah, actually we have. Like this is a retreat center, and I'm just living with the shaman here. He's like 77. She was like 25 or something. And it's a retreat center, but we're not hosting any retreats, and you can definitely like choose any rooms and so on. And I almost started crying, and I gave her the money that I had, and I was like, can I please like just lay down at the pond to like catch my breath, and do you have some water? And then I stayed there, and I talked to the dragonflies, and I was like, please like help me, get up and go back to my partner and so on. So since that moment, there were so many of these kind of stories and happenings for the dragonflies that kind of like saved me and my life and guided me. So I fully trust them.
Wow. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. You took us off on a journey. Like you took us with. I saw it all. Like you just, oh my goodness.
You were there.
Story. Thank you for sharing that story, Andra. That's so powerful. So powerful. I mean, so much trust, the willingness to just go, to just move, to just walk. Like you said, I'm in the middle of Mexico. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not in the, I don't have it all here, but I'm just going to go. I'm just going to follow. I'm just going to trust. I'm just going to move. And it was guiding you. And it guided you where you needed to be.
Yeah.
I love stories like that.
Yeah, me too. I love stories like this. And it's just a confirmation, that that it's real, you know, like there's the spirit world and, you know, the spirit guides, like they're all here to protect you. It's not something that is just like, ah, definitely, it's what we want to believe, you know, because I was going through this journey, like for some time, like, oh my God, is it really real? But then so many of the things would happen, and I'm like, I cannot not trust it, you know, I cannot not believe it.
Right. Right. So, you know, if someone was coming to you for guidance, Andra, and they were asking you, you know, how do I find my guides, or how do I find that kind of connection with either nature, with these beings, with these spirit animals, these creatures, these like, how do I find that? How would you guide?
Mm.
What would you advise them? You know?
I think one of the things is that we need to slow down, you know, because we do have a very fast life. A very, especially in the Western society, we have a very fast life, and it's very hard for us to be in silence, you know, to just be like one single day. I'm not saying like 14 days right now. I'm just saying like, okay, one day, maybe a week or every 2 weeks, where you can just put the phone down, put everything away, you know, on hold, like all the tasks that you have, like on a Saturday, and you don't just be in silence. And when you are there, so many things will show up and will come up, right? Like whether it's your mind racing, like, oh my God, this is what I need to do, these are all the worries that I have, or it's emotional. So, you know, for example, emotions like, well, I'm actually sad. Like I was running away so much, but now that I'm silent and now that I have a break, I'm actually very sad. um, or so many things can be seen in silence. So I would actually say that if we would, you know, work together, I would guide someone. I would be like, let's start in silence, because this is the only thing that really shows you what you need to work on. It's not it's not what I tell you. It's not like, you know, because there are this like quote unquote like coaches, and you know they come and it's like, well, I think that I'm, you know, I think that I'm depressed and I think that I should be finding my purpose, and you know we have all these ideas of what we should do or what we should work on. And then, you know, the coach or the guide says, okay, so you start to do the emotional freedom technique, and then you do like 1 hour of yoga every day. And it's like this kind of prescription, sorry, um, without without them actually saying, okay, let's please come to silence. We can also do it together. You know, we can be together for one day where you're together with me and we sit in silence. I'm just holding space. And then in that silence, we have the integration. Okay, what did you see? What did you learn? So afterwards, it can be much, much easier to know what you should start with. And that's why also for the retreat, we start in silence, because if you don't see what you need to put, like what you need to take out, you know, the junk, like first you take the junk out and then you put the good stuff in. If you put the good stuff in but it's still like junky inside, you know, it's still like a lot of bullshit, it's not gonna work because you're gonna be overwhelmed. So it's when you're not an empty channel, you know, an empty channel, an empty vessel, you have no mind, you have no thoughts, it's very difficult for you to connect to the spirit animals. So what you mentioned, you know, it's very difficult for you to see synchronicity, to trust the universe, because you're always gonna be, you know, dragged into different stories of the mind, of emotions, of the environment, of situations, life situations. So once you come to stillness, then you can start to also perceive other realities.
Wow. Wow. Through stillness. Through
Mm,
stillness. I love
yeah.
this. I love this. You know, it reminds me, there's a saying like the more stillness, the less illness, you know?
Yeah. Good one.
It makes sense. It
Yeah.
makes sense that so much can be heard and so much can be seen in silence, you
Mm,
know?
yeah.
And allowing someone to take solace in their own silence and their own solitude, almost like slowing down to speed up, to allow their emotions to catch up,
Mm, mm,
so
mhm.
they can actually feel what needs to reveal and what needs to be healed.
Exactly. Yeah, very well said.
Wow.
and not only the emotions, but also like the thought patterns,
Hmm.
because like you can finally start to see, this is, and the limiting beliefs, or like beliefs that you have about yourself or about your reality or whatever. This is how I'm thinking. Like for example, in the first Vipassana, I had a problem with my throat. Like I always like would get tonsillitis, or I would always get problems with my throat. And one of the things that you do in Vipassana is you start to perceive cause and effect. And because you're slowing down time in Vipassana, you're slowing down time very, very, like you're really diluting it. And so you start to perceive cause and effect um, from this reality, but also like from other realities and past lives and so on. So like it goes a little bit like more complicated, but to take this the example of my throat is like whenever I get something, like for example the tonsillitis, I get super anxious, right? So it's like this anxiety of like, I cannot show up, I cannot go to work, I cannot do things, I'm gonna be seen as weak, I'm gonna, there will be physical pain, so there's a lot of anxiety involved. But in Vipassana, it's really the question, is the anxiety coming first, or is the tonsillitis coming first? Because you think the tonsillitis is coming first, but what I saw was that the anxiety about, me getting sick was actually the beginning. It was actually the trigger. So then once I started to heal that anxiety, also the physical issues started to go away. So healing the mind is the most important, I think, or one of the most important things that you can do.
Wow. So the thought came first.
Yeah, and you see that in silence after you meditate so much, you can see these things.
Hmm. Hmm. So being able to heal those thought patterns, it's kind of like you gave an example earlier, like you can't have all these new things next to these old things. It almost made me feel like if in your mind, if the mind is like a house
Hmm.
and you have all this old furniture in the house and all these, these cobwebs and things that have been in the house and this dust and all this stuff in the house, and then you buy new furniture and you put the new furniture right next to the old furniture.
Yeah, it's a little bit insane, right?
Right.
But we
Somebody,
do that all the time. We do that all the time with this,
right.
yoga or whatever.
You know, if somebody were to come in and see that house, they'd be like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing
What is
exactly?
you know? You
Just
gotta,
take,
you
just
know,
take the trash out.
right?"
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I say, Andra, like out with the old and in with the new. You know,
Mm.
but it's out with the old before you can bring the new in. It makes sense.
Yes,
It makes sense.
very well said.
Thank you for bringing that, thank you for bringing that full circle. Thank you for bringing these messages. This is
Mm.
very timely. It feels very divine, very aligned. And, thank you for seeing the signs and thank you just for taking the time. We
Thank you
appreciate.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank you for holding space. It's very important for me.
of course.
It's very important for me for people to actually both like see like what I'm going through, because I'm a more reserved person. So basically like I'm keeping a lot of this magical things to myself. Of course, we're all in a spiritual closet in a way. And so this was very, very healing for me to actually be on a live and to share all these things.
I'm glad. I'm glad, and for folks who don't know, this was actually our first time interacting. Like we had never talked to each other like this before. This is very, very, very nice and just smooth and simple and nice and
Yeah.
effortless. So, and if this is somebody's first time witnessing you, Andra, and you have, services or offerings that you would like people to know about, your reset retreats, different things, would you, let people know where they can come and find that?
Sure. Like, because we're on Instagram, like just follow the Instagram profile and then we'll go from there. I do organize this retreat. It's a 1 month reset in September in Costa Rica. So, like if you feel the calling to reset your life, I'm very happy to hop on a call and see how our energies match and find something, that is aligned with both of us.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we'll take care. I hope this is not the last time we hear from you.
Definitely not. Thank you
All right.
so much.
Take care.
You too. Bye bye.